Welcome to True Crime with Strategic Eyes.
Strategic back again. What's going on, guys? I wanted to give you guys an update on this whole situation on who is sending packages to Stephan Stearns while he's housed in Osceola County Jail. Now, I know a few other creators have spoken about this, but we were able to obtain information on our own from one of our very nice viewers, A Obsidian. Good job, A Obsidian. We really appreciate the assistance you gave us on this. And she was able to get the arrest affidavit and other information on this gentleman so we could kind of get a full view on who this person is. Now, I've given you guys my opinion on what's happening inside of the jail between Stephan Stearns and Genesis Santiago, which has been established now, who's the girlfriend of Miguel Angelo Almestica. All right. Now, I don't believe that Stephan Stearns is being extorted. All right. 12 years working in the state prison system. I know the type of units that Stephan Stearns is being housed in. I also know the type of inmate that Stephan Stearns is. As I told you guys before in a different video, Stephan Stearns is a coward, okay? He is a absolute coward. He's not going to allow himself to get extorted without complaining to jail staff, all right? Especially at this stage of the game when he's in county jail, and county jail is always in flux. Inmates are being released, they're being bailed, inmates are getting transferred up to state prison, they're going back and forth to court. That's why a lot of times you don't see a lot of that extortion and stuff like that happen on the jail level, because inmates are focusing on going free, right? And anything that happens in the jail can be used against them in court, such as they could get additional charges if they're found to be extorting, assaulting, raping, murdering, whatever. If they're doing crimes in that prison system, they're getting contraband and they get additional charge, it could complicate their efforts of getting released on bail while they're fighting their case, because you can always reapply for bail, or it might result in them getting extra charges where they have to do more time in state prison. So don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that jail is safe and hunky-dory. Everybody's having a great time in the jail systems across America. I'm not saying that, okay? Try going to Rikers Island in New York City, and you'll see how dangerous jail can actually be, right? What I'm saying is that this is a situation where Stephan Stearns is playing the game. He's selling his phone access in exchange for contraband. And contraband is any item that you're not supposed to receive. I want to jump into this and kind of go over this guy's record. Why is he in the prison system? And basically, give you guys some insight into who this person is. All right, let's do it. So the arrest warrant behind me is for Miguel Angelo Almestica. He is 5'10", 180 pounds. You see, he got tons of tats all over him. He's most likely involved with gang activity. I'm wondering, why is he in that medical unit? Why is he in that segregation unit? It might be because he has gang beefs and the local county jail is trying to kind of keep him safe from other inmates. Could be that he's a snitch and he's kind of like in this PC situation. Could be that he is experiencing some medical issues. All right, let's keep going. So he's in jail for aggravated battery with a deadly weapon and battery. Let's keep going. Let's see what happened. On October 28th, 2024, at approximately 4:02 hours, so it's early morning when this happened, deputies responded to 2790 North Pionciana Boulevard. I don't know how to pronounce that. I'm not from Kissimmee area. In reference to a report of an armed disturbance. Upon arrival, deputies observed two vehicles in the roundabout of the Legacy Vacation Club. Deputy Fernandez observed two females in between the cars with two security officers waving her down, soon moving into a parking spot on the north side of the parking lot. Deputy Fernandez contacted the victim, who advised the following via verbal statement. Okay, what did they say? Early in the morning, Blank left a Halloween party at an Airbnb at 2437 Reading Trail, Kissimmee. When she was going to head to her home in Titusville, that's saying Tutus. Titusville, after deputies broke up the party. She advised she and her friend were approached by a chubby guy with light to tan skin and curly hair, and another man who had tattoos all over his face, thick eyebrows, and a 5-inch between his eyes. and a 5 between his eyes. So I guess he has a number 5 in between his eyes. She advised the females were invited back to the men's apartment, and they went. I don't know. Let's see if they went. This is really weird. Advised she went upstairs with the males when they noticed 2 unknown females. The male started talking ish to the girls. The male with the 5 on his face began bragging about how he beat his girl the night before until she was unconscious. What? This is why you're not supposed to go anywhere with some random dudes. What is wrong with these ladies? This is insanity. Blank advised that she began telling the unknown female that she did not deserve that, and she offered to either take her home or buy her an Uber. However, the girl got timid. She advised at that point, the male with the 5 began getting highly agitated, and the chubby guy threw drinks at her and her friend. She advised he and her friend decided to leave the residence when the males and the girl began following them out. She advised the female she offered to take home began hitting her friend. The male with the 5 tattoo began striking her all over her head and body. Blank advised she began fighting back. The male with the 5 tattoo went into the residence and returned with a tequila bottle. He chased Blank, eventually caught up to her and struck her on the head with the bottle. This guy's a monster. He really is a monster. Let's keep going. She advised the male with the 5 stated something along the lines of, "You itches deserve to die. I spent 8 years in jail, should have spent a whole lot more, and will spend more time inside to kill them." She advised at some point she pulled out her pocket knife in an effort to protect herself when the man with the 5 snatched it out of her hand. You can't pull out a weapon if you don't know how to use it or you're not willing to use it. All you're going to do is give that person an opportunity to use the weapon against you. She's probably better off having some mace inside of her bag than to have a pocket knife. Threw it on the ground and got her on the ground. She advised she's unsure if she ever lost consciousness or not. She advised that it all happened so quickly that she was unsure. So he basically beat the mess out of this lady. That's basically what happened. Debbie spoke with Miss Gordon, who advised the following verbal statement. She and Blank were at the Halloween party and were approached by a few men and a fat guy with curly hair and a white or Hispanic man with a bunch of tattoos and a 5 on his forehead with a tattoo that stated "blood on his face." She advised she talked about an after party at their apartment and invited them over. She advised that there were a few females that showed up and it looked as if they were unwanted by the males. She advised the 5 was boasting about how proud he was for knocking out his girl. She advised he attempted to get the unknown females out of the house so he and his friend could get intimate with them. She advised Blank to begin trying to help the unknown female get a ride home. However, the female did not seem interested. She advised the males began getting hostile with the other females, so she and Blank wanted to leave. So these ladies were just looking for a one-night stand with degenerate men. So, I mean, no disrespect, but they're probably degenerates as well. You know, if you're gonna play in the mud, then you probably muddy too, right? And this is disgusting. All of these people are disgusting, but what happened to the victims is terrible. But the fact that they would associate with such slime balls as these men, disgusting. Because from what this witness is saying, she was still getting intimate after this guy bragged about beating his girlfriend unconscious. She just wanted to get the girl a ride home. But she was totally willing to go back after these other girls leave and go have sex with these guys. It's just crazy that the lifestyle these people live. It's unfortunate. Let's keep going. She advised the female began hitting her while the 5 began jumping her. She advised at some point the male ran to the apartment, retrieved an empty bottle of tequila, and hit Blank. She advised she immediately began hitting him in an attempt to get him off of Blank. She advised at one point she retrieved her taser and the group took off running inside the apartment. She advised at one point the male with the 5 said he spent 8 years in jail and wasn't scared to do more. This was a wild ride. While on the scene, deputies observed Blank to have blood-soaked hair on the left side, a bloody mouth, her camo costume now bloody, blood on her hands, her knees to have abrasions and blood spatter on her shoes. Blank was visibly upset, crying to the point of hyperventilating. When Deputy Fernandez was close enough to Blank, she hugged her. I hope you learned your lesson, ma'am. That was very reckless of these ladies. Very reckless to be playing in the mud with these thugs. Let's keep going. She hugged her, stating she was scared while taking time to calm Blank down. She began shivering. A canvas was done on the area that Sierra stated was the area where they were jumped. A broken bottle of tequila was located next to a white shirt. Both items were collected and submitted to evidence at Osceola County Sheriff's Office in an effort to collect DNA samples. Blank was transferred to Celebration Hospital due to the extent of her injuries. Blank had scans done, but the results were unavailable at the time of this report. Once Blank head was cleaned up, she had approximately an inch wide and was profound. Oh. And was more profound than the hospital staff initially thought. Hospital staff believed she would need staples. Photographs were taken of the victim's injuries and uploaded into evidence. Blank desires prosecution for the attack. Blank was provided with a victim and witness rights pamphlet, business card with the incident number on it. Let's keep going. This is very extensive, man. Big shout out to A Obsidian with this information. I learned the male with the tattoos on his face and head was positively identified as Miguel Angelo Almestica. I learned he initially went to Pionkiana Medical Center and was later transported to Orlando Regional Medical Center's Trauma Center. Detective A. Curtis and I traveled to this location and met with Deputy Parzingnat, who was in the trauma center with Miguel. Miguel has been admitted due to sustain 2 stab wounds to the upper right portion of his back. I guess she did stab him. Good for her. She didn't remember it, but she stabbed him up. Good for her. And on his left side. Deputy P initially tried to speak with Miguel about the incident, but he was uncooperative. He only said an unknown person had stabbed him. Miguel was read his Miranda warnings which he understood and again refused to speak about the incident. Upon my arrival, I also attempted to talk to Miguel. I introduced myself, but he declined to speak with me. I observed the injuries to Miguel's body, photographs were taken, and later entered into evidence. I learned Miguel's girlfriend, Genesis Santiago. So Genesis was a part of this. Wow. Genesis was a part of this. Very, very interesting. Okay, let's keep going. I learned Miguel's girlfriend, Genesis Santiago, had been in the waiting room. I went to the waiting room and made contact with Genesis. She was covered in a blanket as she was not fully clothed, just wearing a bra and underwear. Wow. A spot of blood was observed on the right portion of her bra. I introduced myself to Genesis and asked if she knew what happened to Miguel. She claimed she did not know anything that happened at a house party, only stating she heard Miguel got stabbed. She stated after the incident, Miguel was taken to the medical center by an unknown person. Genesis concluded by saying she was drunk at the time of the incident and does not remember anything. Genesis denied being physically abused by Miguel ever and stated that all was well in their relationship. Okay, birds of a feather flock together. Okay. Based on Blank and Sierra's accounts, Genesis appears to be the female mentioned who they learned was possibly being abused by her boyfriend, Miguel. I learned Miguel is a blood gang member and was recently released from the Florida Department of Corrections. Based on the description provided by Blank and Sierra, and due to the freshness of this incident, they were shown a photograph of Miguel. The photograph is a prior inmate booking photo. Miguel has the number 5 tattooed between his eyebrows, the word blood tattooed on his left cheek, and a 5-point star with the letter B inside of the star. Both Blank and Sierra positively identify Miguel as the suspect. Okay, so now they got probable cause to arrest him because they did a confirmatory photo. They didn't do a lineup. They should have did a lineup. At least they shouldn't have done a lineup. In my department's policies, we would have did a lineup because too much time had passed between the meeting with the CVs, the complainants, and finding the subject. So they should have did a 6-pack, but instead they did a confirmatory. But whatever, if they accept that down in Florida, that's all that matters. Let's keep going. During my investigation, I had probable cause to believe Miguel Angelo Almestica violated the law, aggravated battery with a deadly weapon, as the unknown suspect committed aggravated battery who, in committing battery intentionally or knowingly, causes great bodily harm, permanent disability, or permanent disfigurement, and uses a deadly weapon, a tequila bottle, towards Blank. Miguel also violated battery as Miguel actually struck Blank repeatedly with hands and fists. Miguel is currently admitted to Orlando Regional Medical Center. I am requesting a warrant for Miguel's arrest. So we know why he's in the medical unit with Stephan Stearns. He's there because he's recovering from those stab wounds. So she probably stabbed him up really, really good. She really stabbed him up good. So this is Miguel. It's amazing how any woman would want to sleep with this man and his manicured eyebrows. But like they say, man, there's somebody for everybody, right? There's somebody for, he's got blood written on his face. He got a star with a B on it. He's in the hood, they call this, he's a big blood, right? You could be a blood and then you big blood. He's big blood. He lived for this ish, right? His whole life is blood. Well, we could send you back to prison and you could keep spending that life gangbanging behind bars. So that is the gentleman who's bartering with Stephan Stearns. I assure you, ladies and gentlemen, Stephan Stearns is not being extorted by this dude. This guy is paying Stephan Stearns to use Stephan Stearns' phone privileges. That's what's happening, okay? And one reason why he may not be able to use the phone is because sometimes these guys have fines and stuff like that, especially if he's on parole and he still has fines, that if his girlfriend puts money on his books, they'll take that money and put it towards his fines and penalties. So these guys who have fines and penalties, possibly from a different case, because remember, he has multiple cases. He just came out of prison, probably on parole. So he still has those fines and penalties from his previous conviction hanging over his head. They can't have their girlfriends, their mothers, their friends send them money, because if you send them money, the state is going to take that money to satisfy those fines. So what they'll do is they'll pay another inmate with money or commissary or whatever in order for them to use that inmate's phone account to make phone calls. Stephan Stearns will have his day when he is a victim of extortion. But that day is not now. Stephan Stearns is being an entrepreneur behind bars. I hope that the next time he gets caught doing something like this, he gets a much harsher penalty than just a verbal warning. Guys, I appreciate you guys immensely for joining me today and showing me love. I hope you guys learned a thing or two of what's happening in the prison system right now with Stephan Stearns. I'll see you guys on the next one. Make sure you like and subscribe, join the channel, and consider becoming a member of the Patreon and the membership. Strategic is out of here. Peace.